Welcome back to Sista Brunch, the podcast all about Black women and gender expansive people thriving in entertainment and media. And we're now in our fourth season. I say it every time because I can't believe it, and it's amazing. We encourage you to listen back to our previous guests on Apple or Spotify We encourage you to listen back to our previous guests on Apple or Spotify podcasts and find ways to uplift and encourage these amazing women and non-binary folks that we have on the podcast. And also, if you've got questions about the entertainment and media industries, we would so love to hear your voice and your question. As a matter of fact, we're going to play one today. You can always call us and leave us a voicemail at 424-587-4870. And we might just ask your question or play your voice on a future episode or on our social media. We also want to share the beautiful love that our sisters, I'm nervous. Okay. Yeah. We also want to share all the love that our listeners leave for us through reviews. This one is from Zero to Hero. This one is TWO, Zero to Hero. I love that name. And Zero to Hero says, fantastic show with fantastic people. I learn every time I listen to this podcast. Well done. Thank you so much, Zero to Hero. And if you're listening now and loving our show, anybody else, go ahead and subscribe, rate, and leave us a review as well. I'm your host, Fanchon Cox, and today's guest, come on now. I mean, you already know it's Anya Adams. Yay! She's the OG. She's the reason we're here. She's a TV director with over 25 years of experience in the industry. She started out as a DGA trainee, and she worked as a first AD on the award-winning shows like The Mindy Project, Insecure, and Blackish. She is a two-time NAACP Image Award winner for Outstanding Director, and she was named as one of the top emerging female filmmakers on the Alice list for 2020. You can also watch her recent work on shows like Yellowjackets, Ginny and Georgia, and A League of Their Own. Last but not least, she is, of course, the co-founder and the producer of this very podcast, our podcast, Sista Brunch. Help me, family, in welcoming back our Sista Brunch OG and director extraordinaire, Anya Adams.
Whoop, whoop.
Welcome back, Anya.
Thank you. I cannot believe that I've been in this industry for 25 years.
Wow.
How did that happen?
And the thing is, you've got a lot done. This is the thing is like, because this takes a long time, doesn't it? But
it does.
You're really, really, really far ahead of the game.
I mean, I'm in the game.
Sister, you so far ahead of the game. You're our role model. You are straight up the role model.
This is why I came to the podcast, so that give me flowers.
Let me give
me all the flowers.
Well, so you already know how this goes, but
yeah.
But especially mentioning that you've been here in this industry for that long, take us back as far as you want to take us back to how all of this happened in the first place.
Okay. When I was a little baby. No.
You can go back that far.
I went to school for psychology. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I always loved theater arts. And so I joined a company called Up With People. I traveled with them. They were a nonprofit organization of students that traveled around the world for a year. When I traveled with them, they did a 2-hour show, like a live show, and they did community service, and they stayed in host families. And it was an incredible experience. I traveled as a student, and then I worked with them for like 5 years. But it was a nonprofit. And so, as many of us know, nonprofits have a hard time sustaining themselves.
Yeah.
And so Up With People was kind of crumbling. The entity that it was when I traveled was kind of crumbling. It's still around. It's just in a different manifestation. So I was like desperately looking for how I could take that experience and apply it to like life, because I was traveling. And so that was kind of a different world. And I found the DGA trainee program, which is still around. It's a program that trains you to be an assistant director. And at the time, I thought that was like what I should be doing. I came up as a production in Up With People, I was a production manager and a company manager. So I was really good at the logistics and, I was really good at creative, but I was very logistic heavy. So I did.
Okay. So one thing that we have to mention is that you are from Canada.
Yes.
So find the DGA program and also feel confident being from Canada, not having been raised here, kind of with that influence that a lot of even our some of our guests or listeners even grew up in LA, so they have. But how did you know about the DGA program? Yeah,
I found it online. And I'm an old head, so the internet was very weak at that time. But they had a thing. Actually, at the time that I found this, the DGA trainee program online, they were sending out VHS tapes of this half-hour video of what a trainee was. And in the video, one of the things they talked about was as a trainee, you're going to have to carry a little tiny bag on your hip with quarters because you got to make calls to the production office.
Wow.
There were no cell phones when this, it was old. So I've been doing this for a minute.
You have, yes.
I am from Canada, and I am blessed in that my parents are American, so I have dual citizenship. So it allows me to work in the States. It allows me to work in Canada. For our international viewers, the DGA trainee program is not available to you. You have to be American to partake in it. Yeah. But I think the Canadian DGC has something similar that allows to kind of get you into working as an AD. So I know the DGC does. I'm not sure about Europe or Africa or anywhere else, but for sure, Canada has something similar. Yeah. So go ahead.
During the DGA trainee program, some of the mentors decided that they wanted to kind of have you all come together outside of the program.
Yeah. So as a Black female in a sea of whiteness, one of the things that happened was that, there were several Black, specifically women, that had graduated or were part of the program. And in an effort to kind of create a bubble of safeness and sisterhood, a couple of the graduated trainees who are working started having brunches and just inviting the younger generation to brunch and just allowing us to kind of be this thing happened on set, and I don't know, is it racism? Is it some bullshit? Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I did something wrong? And allowed us to kind of have these conversations and get some clarity, because it's such a fast-paced environment. It's hard to stop and learn. You're just thrown kind of into the raging river and expected to float and then swim. So it was this beautiful kind of collection of women that started gathering, and the group grew and grew, and we called it Sista Brunch. And so inadvertently, I ended up hosting a lot of them because I'm a social being. Yes. And so we would host, I'd invite people to my house. It literally would become an all-day thing.
Raucous. Let's be real. It was because as soon as we say to each other, let's talk about the real things that are going down, plus add in some alcohol, you know. You taught me about Aperol Spritz. I think that was the first time I ever had one at one of your Sista Brunches. But it's just lovely because we get loud and we laugh. And I don't even think there's a lot of tears because we're mostly just celebrating.
It's not. It's celebrating. And what started happening was once everybody, once the largest amount of people were there, we just kind of go around the group and say what am I doing? Almost like a fellowship, where I'm at, what I'm doing, something great that happened to me. So we could all celebrate for each other and also help each other out. Oh, I'm going to go work with that guy. I've worked with him before. Let me help you out. And so when Fashion came, I remember her mind being blown because she was like, I have never seen this many Black women, which is kind of true. Like I hadn't either.
You
It's what
don't,
became
and
a norm, but
silo us on purpose, right?
yeah,
And so you don't even know. I mean, that's even guests on Sister Brunch are like, oh, there's this whole other community, and
yeah,
yeah, we just don't know it. And I had been told over and over again that people can't find enough, whatever it is to hire, and I was like, well, they're right here in
yeah,
Anya's backyard, and you
yeah,
don't know about them.
yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, so it was super fun to see your reaction, but also, afterwards when we talked about it and just how important it was to be able to show the world, you know the opportunities that are available to young women,
Yes.
old women, all women,
Yes.
Black women. That's
Yeah.
the opportunities that are available in production that aren't just director, producer, actor. There's so many jobs. And there's so many opportunities for us to become a part of the creative event that is filmmaking, that is television. And all of it is important. Like, as a director on set, when I see another Black person, I'm so jubilant. It doesn't matter if they're the key grip or the hair person or the props person or the special effects. I know that their personality and their creative kind of mindset is going to add and create layers in a way that it isn't done when it's all one type of person. So, yeah. Because that's how I like to run my sets, is best idea wins. And so that idea comes from everybody. It's not just me. It's not just the actor. It's like, somebody has a good idea.
I have to point out that you just said, that's how I run my sets.
Yeah.
And we're going to run that back over and over and over again, even to look at the difference between where you are now and where you were when we started the podcast.
I know.
It's so
That's
beautiful.
Crazy.
You are running your sets, and you were starting to, and you were already working. You won the NAACP Image Award. I think you won your first one when we first got started in that first season, but you're running it. So now you're in this position, one, for people to listen to you and for you to have influence on the stories that are told and to hire folks. It's so beautiful.
I mean, I don't know. The hiring is also harder. Like when you're in TV, you're a journeyman. So you're not necessarily, your influence in hiring is really in casting. And that's whether the showrunner is open to allowing you to have say. But if you're a working director, a lot of times the casting is happening before you get there, or you're not able to be involved. So there's not a lot of like opportunity to hire as a journeyman director. As a pilot director, you have more influence. As a feature director, you have more influence. But in television, it is definitely harder to hire.
I'd love for you to talk about a TV pilot that you have directed, and then the movie and movies that you're going to be directing, and then talk about the differences, like what is it like on a daily basis, and start with the pilot, because you're helping to shape the TV show some, right? Yeah. That's why they hire you on. So
I've only done one pilot. That pilot was Ginny and Georgia.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty big one. That's like number one show on Netflix.
On Netflix, yeah. This season is I mean, I directed episodes 1 and 2 of Ginny and Georgia season 1. So I was the director that worked with the showrunner and the creator to create the look. We were intimately involved in casting. So like Antonia Gentry, Brianne, Howie, those guys were like the trio of us really fought to get those women into the leads. And that involved a lot of collaboration because ultimately in a television show, you're working with someone who's created the show, and either that person is the creator and the showrunner, or they're two different people. There's a showrunner and that person's running the creative through line of the show, running the writer's room, and really like is the person pushing the cadence forward in terms of like when scripts comes out, how that all rolls, as well as dealing with on-set stuff, as well as dealing with post. And then the creator is involved as much or as little as is kind of woven into that fabric. In Ginny and Georgia, Sarah is very involved. She's a part of everything, and I think that's great. I mean, it's her vision, it's her idea. So yeah, the three of us really worked tightly together to create that pilot, and and kind of all the looks, like what does the house look like, what is what does Ginny's room look like, what kind of car do they drive, what school are we shooting in. If you watch the show, there's a very long hallway that they walk along that has all these different colors and seating areas, and that was kind of born out of Sarah had a vision from her high school, and so I had to take that idea, work with the production designer and Sarah, the creator, to make a version of that in the hallway. So it's like that's the kind of stuff you do. I did as a pilot director for that Netflix show. I think pilot directors have different experiences, but that was definitely, it was casting, it was everything, which was really awesome.
Of the success of that show. Let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, I helped to set the look and the tone, and I think like that's what pulls you in. It's what people enjoy and will keep them watching, and so
So then when you go onto a show that's already 2-3 seasons in, that's a very different experience, right?
Yeah. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. It's like it depends on what kind of director you are, right? Like I'm a big collaborator. I like to collaborate with the people that have created the story. I haven't brought the story, I like to collaborate because they've been working on the story longer than I have. So they have all this basis, all this like information that I can use to, create the visual kind of representation of this script. So I like collaborating. So for example, I just did an episode of Yellowjackets. It's for season 2. It's not out yet. It'll come out in March. So I loved doing the show. It was so awesome. But one of the things that I loved about it was like, I watched the first season. I really tried to understand the characters. And then when you get on set, if you have an understanding of where they've been, and then you've read your scripts, or you've read everything up until what you're shooting, and after, where they're going. So you can have this real dialogue with the cast in a way that they feel respected and heard, and you can really like dig into performances. So that's fun because you're not creating anything, you're just magnifying it and bringing your talent to it,
Was there, given that that's a majority women cast, right? It's really centered on these women. What did that make a difference for you being and does that show in the behind the scenes of that show? And then what about being a Black woman in particular on that show or others that you've done?
Yeah. On Yellowjackets, there are 2 Black characters that are in the regular cast. The younger and older, Tawny Newsome and Jasmine Savoy Brown. They play each other, the younger and the older. I think the cool thing about this show is they have a Black producing director. His name's Jeff Bird.
Yes.
So he is there all the time and is definitely somebody who's like carrying the weight of all of that and representing all the time, which is really fantastic. So it was great to have him just kind of be there for support. So as a Black person coming into that show with somebody in the upper management that's Black, it was really nice. It was really comforting.
I'm just realizing you said Jeff Bird, and I'm like, is that Twinkie's brother? We can cut this out if it's not, but Twinkie? Talked about Tracy Twinkie Bird. Do you know her? She's a casting director, and now she's working her way into producing, and she directed a short film. Do you not know Twinkie?
I don't know if that's Jeff. I don't
Oh,
think
okay.
so.
She mentioned that she mentioned that when she got her start, that her brother was a director and that she started by casting his video. Like, is he a white
Oh,
man?
maybe.
Or is he?
No,
You said he's a
he's
black
black.
man. You just said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll cut that out.
Oh,
But I think
maybe.
she said that she's Jeff Burr. I think that's Twinkie's brother.
Maybe.
Anyway, amazing, awesome.
And
Okay.
and Jeff is like, one of the only black guys I know. Him and Hanalei Culpepper, who have broken into the Star Trek world.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Which is premium television and like a big deal. So Jeff holding this, first of all, Jeff, a black man holding the role of producing director on a female driven show is like, it's pretty
It's huge.
epic. Yeah. And I think it's nice. It's a good balance. I think
it.
you need to have the yin and yang there to like really balance things out.
Yeah.
So I think it works. The women, I mean, all of them really care about the work. So when I say that, I mean, like, as a director, if your actors care about the work, you better fucking care about it too, which means you better know the show, you better know your script, and you better have answers to questions or reasons why you want to do things, because the cast is so invested in who they are and why they do things. So I had a lot of good conversations with people about, like, hey, I'm thinking about you doing this or that. And if somebody would say no, I was able to have a conversation with them because I did my homework. So, yeah.
Okay. I know we said we're going to do TV and film, so I want to get back to film. But just before that, I meant to make sure we share your leap, because you essentially had this giant leap. One, from being a kick-ass first AD. So, and you talked about that a lot, on the show, is the importance of doing really well when you do get hired. And so you really stood out, and you were well known for being a really good first AD on Blackish. And then you also shot a short film. And tell us a little bit about that, and then the leap into directing.
Okay, I was first AD on a bunch of shows. When I decided I wanted to direct, I was on the Mindy Project. I'd been on Mindy Project for a couple of years, and I approached Mindy because we had a great relationship and people were getting opportunities on the show. And I just said, hey, I'd love to direct. And she was like, awesome. I want to support you. What have you done? And I was like, fuck, I haven't done anything. So I better get my shit together. And so at that sort of set my wheels spinning. Like, I need to find a script that I can shoot. I need to do something to have a calling card to show people I can do the job. And at the end of that season, Blackish started up. I got poached over to Blackish. I told them I wanted to direct. They were like, cool. Come on. And so while I was there, I got not real tight, but I mean, I got close with Marseille Martin and her family. Yeah. And my cousin wrote this script called Lemonade Mafia about two girls dueling over a corner for a lemonade stand. And Marseille agreed to star in it. And so I was able to shoot a short film in 2 days with her. I had all the support. I didn't know
you did it in 2 days. Go ahead, Anya. Wow.
I had all this support from, like, it was insane. Like, I always say this to people, let people know what you want to do because they want to help you, but you have to, like, be able to also ask for specific things. So, like, I know we've talked about this before, Fanchon, like, the whole idea of, like, people calling me and say, hey, I need a mentor. Like, I'm not interested in that kind of connection. Hey, I'm looking for a mentor specifically for this thing, or I need to learn this thing, or can you help me with this thing? And then I can say yes or no or direct you. But you're never going to catch me just being like, sure, I'll mentor you. That's just not, we don't have the time for that. We need specifics. So when I said I wanted to direct and I told people on the set I wanted to direct, and that I was doing this short film and it was happening at this time, it was like, people were like, yes, I'll help you. Yes, I'll help you. Yes, I'll help you. So I had a lot of help from the Blackish family, which I am forever grateful. And we shot the short film. I showed it to Kenya, and um, and I think that was like, along with like, I had very strong work ethic. I was always there to, help with problem solving. We had a lot of problems on Blackish, like, stuff that, organizational stuff. I was always there and ready to help.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I showed merit. And so Kenya gave me an episode, and I didn't stop from there. And I think, like you brought it up, I was a good AD. I was a very good AD, but I also am a good, I feel like, networker.
Yes,
I keep in touch with people, and I let people know what I'm doing. And I don't just call people when I need something.
Yes.
It's you have to keep the relationships going, even if it's like every year, and we just make sure you're connecting.
Invite them to the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, you've done. But for real, it's building the community first. And you did that from having people over for the Sista Brunch. Like, you had the space, and so you had people over. It's the whole pay it forward. Yeah. And even if you don't have money, or you don't have the house to do it or whatever, you've got time, you've got energy, you can check in with your friends, you can offer to come and be on their sets, you can offer to do something on their sets. Like, all of that matters, and then it comes back to you for real. Because once you said you're a director, like, you have not stopped. You have not stopped.
It's true. I also think I was talking to somebody else the other day about, like, when I first came to LA, or when I had set my sights on LA, I found a diary, and I'd written in my diary that I wanted to be a casting director.
Interesting.
I'm saying this on this podcast to all y'all out there. I wanted to be a director, but I wrote in my diary I wanted to be a casting director, because I saw that as attainable. I never in my wildest dreams saw directing as something I could do. So I say this to you all now, like, don't write that shit down. Don't, like, stifle yourself. If you want to direct, like, say it. So it took me a long time to get to that point where, to say it. And once I said it, it happened. And it happened because it's the job I absolutely should be doing. I love doing the job.
Yes.
It's fucking hard. There are days that I hate it, but I love it overall. Like, it's the right place for me.
You were meant to be doing.
Yeah. 100%. And when I stepped into it, I knew it. So, and like my first year of directing, I had the wind at my back. I had, I told a director that I was ADing for that I wanted to direct. And she was like, oh, you should meet this guy. I met this guy, Melvin Marr. Melvin Marr was like, I like you. I'm going to give you 2 episodes of TV. You gave me speechless and fresh off the boat. I worked as a first AD with this director named James Griffith, who directed the pilot of Blackish. And we stayed in touch. And he started doing this show called The Mayor with Brandon Michael Hall, which is not around anymore.
Yeah, it was a great show, though.
It was,
It was so good.
And he was a showrunner. And so after Blackish, I did that show because he knew my work ethic and knew what I wanted to do. And then I'd done the short at that point. So, it was laying the groundwork for it moving forward. And then, working hard when I got the opportunity. And being a team player.
So important. And it's so, and we can talk about what that means as a Black woman, right? Because sometimes team player means swallowing some feelings, some feelings, some anger. Oh, and not necessarily means, Anya, one of the things that you do so well is, like, you still speak truths. And you push where you can to make sure that the kind of hiring you're hoping for is happening. Like, you push where you can. I know. I mean, we've talked about my mouth just gets me in trouble. I start trolling folks on the internet, and I wonder why I can't get a job.
That's not true.
No, that's not true. but you managed to I think that that's something that I always want to make sure we talk about is like in creating community, it means you're going to be talking to other women that are not having a good time in this fucking industry, right?
Yeah.
Are pushing up against things, and that we can talk about that honestly, and at the same time understand that we have to work within it in order to get to the place where we can bring up the next person.
Yeah.
What are your coping mechanisms for the days when somebody says something or does something and you have to hold it in to be able to get through that moment or day or show?
Mm-hmm. And you know what? So I really feel like, I mean, I'm just thinking about my the last 3 shows I've been on I've not had issue like that because I hired my DP for the movie.
Yes. Okay.
I did an episode of Not Dead Yet, which is a new show out right now. And the DP and here's the thing that I try to find is like, if I can find some commonality with someone that connects us, it just makes the work situation easier.
Okay.
So pretty much every show that I've just worked on, again, Yellowjackets, I worked with an amazing DP. Her name's Sista Brunch, and she was the DP on Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which I did 3 episodes of. And it was probably the hardest show I've ever had to work on. Like it was hard, not because we got to create cool dance sequences. It was hard because of the production aspect of it, the personalities that were involved and what was needed to make it through an episode. And I just it didn't jive with that. And Shasta was the DP, and I feel like I was the worst version of myself on that show. I wasn't able to make decisions. I got really confused with the easiest things, and it was because I was constantly checking myself and was so off my game and just didn't feel right. And so I worked with her, and I worked with her on that show, and I was like, I never want to see her again. Like, I'm just let's just go our separate ways. And then I get on Yellowjackets and she's there. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be really tough.
Yes.
And a full disclosure, I was on the show. I was supposed to be on Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist for 4 episodes. It was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So they only hired 2 directors. They brought us down and we were like kind of back and forth. And I made it to 3. And then I had to go. It was a mutual agreement, but I was like I couldn't make it. And Shasta directed the episode that I didn't do. Okay. So it was like a weird, yucky feeling leaving. So coming onto this show, I was like, oh God, this is going to be tough. And I actually called Jeff Bird and said, look, I want to make sure that because I know she's going to be my DP, that there's not any, like, I'm a different person now. It's been a year, so when I got there, it was nothing but love. Wow. Like, it was nothing but love in terms of like, we both went through a really hard situation because she also had a hard time, but I couldn't even see that because I was just
it was so hard for you. Right. Yeah. Right.
So we, which I think is a really important thing to think about, is like everyone has their own responsibilities on the set. And if you're having a hard time, if it's a hard show, probably everyone's having a hard time. Right. And when you come out of it, you'll be able to kind of commiserate. But anyway, we did a fucking awesome episode. I'm so excited about the episode we just did on Yellowjackets. Yes. And we worked so well together. And I'm so happy that we had that kind of redemption. So I guess why I brought that up, because I knew that I was stepping into a situation where I'd had struggles with somebody. Not even struggles with her, but I'd struggled around somebody. And so I just tried to mitigate the circumstances best as possible. I talked to Jeff. I wanted to talk to her before we started shooting. We like had a moment and just rehashed stuff so that we could clear it all away and move forward. So I guess I'm bringing that up because it's like that I don't think I've had like, you don't know what you're doing, you're an idiot situation. I will say this. As a presence on set, I'm 5'11" and I wear wedge shoes. I'm always taller. I have a very loud voice. I'm not stupid. And I know what I want, and I'm clear about the show. So I may not know everything, and I recognize that, but I know what I'm trying to get. So I will try to communicate that as best as possible. I guess that's what I'm saying.
That's so important, and it's tough because there are a lot of introverts in this industry, writers, directors, in positions that make it really hard for you to get work if you are an introvert. And I always say, put on your extrovert hat for the day when you go to pitch this project, when you go to direct something, like, because otherwise you get stepped on, and it's the nature of this industry. And so you've got to, if you are doing that, I mean, I think if you're a writer, you might be okay as an introvert, but even that, right? Like, not if you want to make sure they say the words that you have on the paper. Right? You really have to. So to your point about walking in with that confidence, clearly you've done that since you were a first AD, even since prior to that with Up With People, you were carrying yourself with that. And so then people said, oh, you should try this next level. And they just listen to you when you walk in with confidence and decisions, you know, knowing what you want.
That is a set's worst nightmare, when a director doesn't know what they want. You can, I say this, you are put in a position where you're a director on set and you don't know what you want. Make a decision. You can go the wrong way and then turn around.
Right.
But if you don't make a decision and you all sit there, what will happen is everyone feels the void, and then everyone will jump in to try and move things forward, because there's a lot of like controlling people, and it's a mess.
Because too many cooks in the kitchen at that point.
Too many cooks.
And it's a really good point. And hearing this from you, because you have now passed your first time as a director, right? Those first times where, of course, you're feeling nervous, but still, even in those cases, you have to walk in decisive. Like, you have to walk in, and then they'll let you know whether or not you can do it, but you maintain and your research. And I know sometimes it's, it's not even patronizing to remind us that we need to know on a deep level the story that we're telling, right?
You kind of got to know it. Yeah.
You got to know it.
So to be able to have conversation with people about it,
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just...
They'll know. They read it that you don't know.
They will know.
And they'll walk all over you. Let's talk about your feature film. Prompact.
Prompact, March 31st.
Yes.
Disney Plus.
Yes.
Please watch it.
Yes.
It is, it was very cool. So again, this movie came out of a relationship that I made. I brought him up earlier. His name's Melvin Marr. He's Jake Kasdan's producing partner, and he produced Fresh Off the Boat. He produced Bless This Mess. He also produced Speechless. And I did episodes of all of those shows, and had a connection with him. And he's like, I consider him one of my mentors. If I wouldn't be directing if it wasn't for him as well, because Kenya gave me my first episode. Melvin gave me 2 more. I mean, and continued to employ me. So he got a script and pitched me to the producers, and then I had to come in with my. Incidentally, I had to do this for Ginny and Georgia and for Prompact. I had to pitch the studio my vision for the show. So I came in and did that.
Can you talk about that, so that if anybody is listening who needs to prepare that kind of materials, what did that look like? Materials and preparation.
I hate it so much. I hate it. It's like birth. I've never birthed a baby, but it's what I imagine it is mentally, because you need to take all your ideas and distill them into a document, a visual document, and then go through that document with producers talking about visually how you want to service the story, why you should be servicing the story, and how your ideas for casting, whatever that is. When I I would say this to you too, because both pitches I did, I had something personal in the deck, an image. So like when I did the prom pact pitch, I had a picture of myself from prom with my date. And then at the end of it, because it's about promposals, I had a picture of me promposing like saying, hey, will you do prom pact with me? Like a promposal, kind of thing.
Yes.
And when I did Ginny and Georgia, because it's about a mixed race girl in a small town, I, had in the first couple, pages, images of me as a little girl in a small town. Yep. So, I always try to bring the personal connection to the piece into any deck I put out, because I think it shows people like how really connected you are to the material.
Thank you, Anya. Listeners, please, really, because that's the most important thing. Sometimes when you take a pitch, people immediately go into the story, and I'm like, who are you? Why are you telling me that story? And you've got to start with who you are. Why you? Yeah, it is.
Why you?
Why you? Why now? Right?
Yeah.
So why you?
Stuff.
Why this? Why now?
Yeah.
I love it. So, what was it like? Like, okay, what were the differences between shooting a feature, which also is going to go directly to streaming? So also did that mean something different in terms of how, production, et cetera? And then what was the difference? This was your first time doing an actual feature. What was that like?
Yeah. So, a feature going to streamer versus theatrical. I think the world is changing with that right now.
Yep.
And the question will be, what are theatrical films now?
Yeah.
Are they Marvel things only? And then like the really, really like cheap, amazing Little Miss Sunshines? Like, is it that? And there's no I don't know what's happening, but that's, who knows what's happening. But this movie was always for Disney Plus.
Okay.
I will say this, like, my team was hesitant for me to do a show that was going onto a streamer because the
advice that people give you now, or
how it magnifies your career, the prestige connected with doing a
theatrical run.
Versus is still like the theatrical thing is what you go for, right? Still, right. Even though people aren't going to the movies anymore, everyone's watching it on TV. But so there was a lot of conversation about that.
Okay.
I ultimately wanted to do it because first of all, this is funny because I hate rom-coms. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm not a rom-com lover. This is a rom-com. But I mean, there's a couple rom-coms I love. Easy A. Like there rom-coms I like, and I liked the script. It was funny. And Peyton Elizabeth Lee was the star, and I was excited to have a mixed race lead.
Nice.
So that was something that I really was like, yeah, let's do that. And also I was like, this is a great way for me to do my first movie in kind of the cushion of Disney. It's gonna be cushioned.
Not a bad cushion.
It's not a bad cushion. Like it's gonna go on the streamer. It's a solid, solid.
But you're in. I mean, you're in, and they're going to put money behind the marketing of it. And we're already seeing that. Everybody, you got to follow Anya if you're not already. Hopefully you are. You're longtime listeners, but it's really wonderful to see the support you're getting for this film too.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say, okay, so the difference between television and feature, going to a TV show that's already running versus a feature that you're going to do yourself, the feature is all on you.
Right.
Like, there's no showrunner, network, and there's nobody else saying, no, don't do this, or somebody you're having a conversation with. It's like, oh, you chose that shirt. Oh, you want that jacket. Oh, you chose that school. Oh, like all of it is on you, which is exciting and also incredibly daunting because that, like, and I think that's why directors do this, is like you're manifesting your vision. Your actual vision is coming to screen. I mean, obviously you have, for example, we had multiple conversations about the leads and the love interests and who's going to do what, and Disney was very involved in those. And while they're deferential because they've hired you as the director, ultimately you have to come to an agreement together, along with the producers and everyone else that's involved. So it's not just you saying, I want this person, but the weight of your opinion is way stronger in a feature than it is in it. And then if you're Steven Spielberg, you're doing whatever the hell you
make every decision for as much money as you possibly could ever need. Yes, exactly.
Which you gonna get there. You gonna get there. Yes, I'm on my way. But like I say, that's the major difference, is it's all on you. It's all on you in the feature. Like, it's all on you, and it's more collaborative in a television show.
We have to let you go because you're so busy. You're probably going to run to a set right after this. So I'm going to ask you one more question, but I want to just reiterate a point about the difference between a theatrical run and streamer for those of you who are listening, who are getting ready to pitch things or thinking of ideas for feature films. It's a good thing. Look at the evidence that Anya just talked about who's going to the theaters versus who's watching. And if anyone is trying to convince you that a theatrical run is the only way for you to go, gather that evidence. And even in your pitches now, it's more than okay to say, we would like this to go straight to a streamer. And that's just happening recently. Like, before, you couldn't even say that if you were pitching a feature. And now it's a good thing for you to have. It's like being decisive as a director, as you said, Anya. It's a good thing to go in and say, this is the streamer where this belongs. And then you do your homework on what kinds of films, features those streamers make. And but it's not, we're not looking down on that anymore, because there's ample evidence that that's where you do well now, and that it's really hard to do I know Sonata's going to cut this out, but I'm sure like Air, this new movie Air. Did you see the Super Bowl commercial? Why?
Oh.
Okay.
Well, wait. This is one thing you guys can look into, because the reason, and I'm not sure what the DGA television, not television, the Academy rules are. But before, to get an Oscar, you need to have a theatrical run.
Right.
So a lot of like Netflix and Hulu or whatever, they'll do a movie, it goes to their thing, but if they want it to be considered, they'll do a limited run somewhere. Right. I think that's still true. You guys might have to research that, but like,
it is.
So that's the reason why you want to go theatrical. It's the award route, right?
Yes.
Which is not
what some people are doing. Like Ava then just bought a theater so she could play her film one night in the theater, and that counts now as a theatrical.
Yeah.
The other thing is, let's be clear, when a film like The Woman King gets snubbed at the Oscars, those things mean less and less. And we, for Anya and me, we're in our 50s. Like we're still stuck in a lot of ways in what was traditional. For the young folks listening, we can take away all of the power of those kinds of, if they continue to do that to us and not value our work, we have the power to take that away from them and to say, actually, like we had Deshauna Spencer from Quelly TV. She's her own Black Netflix, right? Like, she's her own distribution company. And so what if we put our energies towards creating originals that go straight on Quelly, or, like,
Yeah.
just we have that kind of power to change the rules, but bump even changing their rules. How about if we just stop looking to them to validate us?
Yeah.
And yet, I'm sure part of what your reps were saying is like this currently, yeah, you get Oscar award winning and suddenly everybody is knocking,
It changes.
on your door. It changes.
Yeah.
It still changes. But Anya, this is amazing. Okay, our final question. Anya, you are sitting down to a sister brunch with young Anya.
Okay.
And what are the two of you drinking? What are the two of you eating? And what do you tell young Anya Adams?
Okay, well, we're definitely drinking Aperol spritzes.
Of course you are.
A virgin, and
yes,
because I'm young and I can't drink yet. And I think it's some sort of omelet thing, because I do love any kind of omelet at a brunch. I'm not a huge, I mean, I like a pancake every now and then, but omelets are my thing. So maybe we're having omelets with good feta, Greek feta, and some onions and spinach.
Nice.
I think that. What are we talking about?
Yeah, what do you tell her?
I think it's literally what I said earlier about like not, don't do a disservice to yourself by putting out in the ethos what you know you can accomplish as your goal. Put out what you want to do. Does that make sense? I just like, yeah. Because I feel like that was a whole, for me, I was like, I could do that. I'll be able to do that. But I don't think I'd ever be able to do that. And then the universe allowed me to move in the direction of where I should be, but it doesn't always do that. So you have to speak what you, say what you want. Say it.
We love you.
Speak
Anya.
it.
We love you. That's what we did with this show. We were we're gonna make this happen, and then now
you're going to Cannes,
right? And we both were like, we don't know. Then Cristobal came on, and we were like, Cristobal, tell us what to do.
Help.
And then Cristobal got busy with Spotify, and then Sonata came on, and Sonata was like, here's what you do. So we love it. We love it. Thank you, Anya Adams. Thank you.
Thank you for having me back. I feel so honored.
Oh, please. You're part of the team. Always.
What?
Yes.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm stopping. Okay.
Oh, Sonata, you are muted. Yes. And then, because Anya, we're going to have you do you're listening to Sista Brunch.
Okay.
So keep your, or turn it back on just for that. We can't hear you, Sonata. I mean, you don't, I don't know. I guess in case we have just so we have a backup. Okay, we'll have her do it. I think that's what Sonata said to do.
Oh, have me do it?
Okay. So you're going to do, hey, this is Anya. You're listening to Sista Brunch, the podcast all about, no, Sonia said stop. Sonata said, oh crap. Oh my God, because guess what? I didn't look at the script the whole time. Anya, we have a listener question for you. Okay,
okay, let me do it.
Here we go again. Okay, sorry. I'm going to go to the listener question.
Ooh, okay, listener question.
Oh my gosh, hold on. Let me pull it up. Oh God, I didn't look at the script. I'm so sorry, you all.
Did you? Okay. Was there any good questions in the script?
Yes, for Rita, forgive me. Wait, where is our listener question? Is it written out? Okay, here we go. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Anya. So before you go, we have a listener question. Thank you so much, Lisa Crest, for sending in your question. She's an aspiring filmmaker, and here is her question.
Okay.
Sorry, we're gonna play it. Okay, and now, so Anya, she asks, what things do you wish you had prioritized more in your career? And it could be your career or your life.
Oh. What things do I wish I had prioritized more? I mean, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it because, well, I'm going to say it and I'm going to loop it around. So I'm still a single woman. And I feel like that is, there are times that I wish I'd prioritized that more in my life. However, I'm extremely happy where I am now. And being single is like awesome for me. I can do whatever I want. If you're watching Chelsea Handler right now on Instagram, she's hilarious. Every day she does this thing about being single. So there are times that I wish I'd prioritized that a little bit more. But otherwise, like, I guess I would say this too. I am a person that is like, I say what I want and I step into the day and I try to create that so that I can have it. But I don't freak out if I'm not getting it. And I'm not like, I just would say to you guys, like, say what you want, but move through life happily and enjoy the time that you're having in the moment. Because life is fleeting. So I don't know. That's not really answering her question, but
yes, it is.
I say, you know,
we got it.
Enjoy as you move through this journey.
Oh my goodness.
Whatever the lesson is.
There you go. I mean, that's got to be priority number one. Just enjoy. Thank you, Lisa, for your question.
Thanks, Lisa. Okay.
Thanks.